good to have you here. Thank you for joining. And as I just mentioned, our Chancellor has been very eager to increase the ties between Germany, France, and Poland, the so-called Weimarer Dreieck within the geopolitical context and also the context in Germany. And actually in his speech yesterday, he really emphasized that he wants to take the role Germany has within the European Union seriously, not just for the West, but also for the Eastern countries, Eastern members of the European Union. And in this context, it's going to be very interesting. Where do we actually stand with regards to the German-Polish business ties? Because we know on a geopolitical level and on a level of security, Poland has emerged kind of as a role model when it comes to security and investments into military, and also defense spending. And I know that it's not been easy also for Polish society. And so maybe we can also link the importance of strong economic development and security along the Polish example, because your economy is set to grow this year. More than 3% is the forecast. I think, a figure we would all wish for in Germany in these times. I mean, when will we reach 3% again, I wonder? And so maybe you can also let us know what we might learn from Poland. But before we dive into this a little bit deeper, where do you actually see the German-Polish business relations right now, the economic ties? At what level are they currently? And how has it changed maybe in the past months?
No, I think, first of all, they are excellent. So you are our preferred partner. You are our biggest partner. It's 25%, roughly 25% of our imports are coming to and from Germany. At the same time, we got a bit more independent, so we are not this much related to the German economy. It's still 25%, but with more and more diversification from Polish perspective. So for me, it's the best possible relation. So it's very strong, but it's also equitable. So we are kind of both depending on each other while having a lot of common interest. And I think the big change in the last month, sorry for changing a bit the subject, but I think that's what I see now traveling through different capital cities like Berlin, Rome, Paris. Everybody understood that we have to work together. And I think the big change of the last months, this is something I see on the business side, so our side, whenever I meet people from BDI, Industrie, MEDEF, or other business organizations, everybody understood that we have to collaborate. Obviously, we are competitors, so they are competing businesses in each country, but everybody understood that we have to collaborate at the European level. So I would tend to repeat that my patriotism with Warsaw, but my sovereignty it is somehow with Brussels. So only collaborating at the European level, we can face up the global challenges. So this is the big change. And second part of the big change, this is the one on the business side. The other one is on the political side, that we feel in Brussels. Also this understanding of we have only this term, we have only these 3-4 years of the current Commission, of the current Parliament, and if we do not succeed politically and we do not succeed business-wise, I mean, somehow, I don't want to be too strong, but we are doomed at the European level as well, all together. So this is the big change.
Yeah, you're probably looking back on the latest European elections, which, should have brought many people to their feet already, and then the German elections and the knowing in Germany that, this time really counts politically and business-wise. And a question we raised yesterday was already, how much time do we actually have to keep up the trust and the momentum right now?
I think we have very little. Look at Poland. We won the people elected a super democratic government year and a half ago, and after a year and a half ago, they elected the previous regime president with obviously majority of 200,000 votes, but still with a majority, and we cannot cancel democracy. So we have very little time, and on both dimensions, on the business one, with the one which concerns me the first, but also on the political one, to propose to people something which is sexy enough, if I may say so, that they want to stay within the democratic regimes, within the European solidarity and cooperation. So the big change of the last month is the sense of urgency, and really, I can feel it on business. It's normal because it's our day-to-day life. We have to react next day, otherwise now companies are not surviving. But also the politicians understood that this is probably the very last moment. If we don't,
sexy seems to be a word that's very popular today. You're not the first one that's brought it up today. How do you perceive the German-Polish business ties, and where would you like to see them heading, actually?
Well, I'm very biased on this one because one of my most successful investments I've ever made is in Poland. I bought a company for Trumpf in 2008 with about 50 employees, and we now employ 1,500 people in Warsaw. And it's our world-leading development center for high-power electronics. So I'm very enthusiastic about Poland. I see Poland, and I'll stop the advertisement in a second. I see Poland today where Germany was maybe 30 years ago in the level of flexibility, enthusiasm, motivation. It's really fantastic to work with Poland. I see, secondly, a very good cultural alignment between Germany and Poland. Mr. Witucki just said when we chatted briefly before our talk here, we're both romantic nations, and I think this is very well put. We have the same cultural foundation, so there are a lot of things on the positive. However, I think we are in one of the most challenging situations in Europe, as you have alluded to, insofar as that we have a drastic paradox that we have to overcome. I'll put it very simply. We are creating a lot of pain in Brussels that is not felt in Brussels. It's felt on the outside. And therefore the results from that pain are becoming material on the outside, namely election results which we don't like, which will eventually kill Brussels. So this is a double paradox that we have to overcome. And I think, I'll be a bit philosophical here, I'm afraid. I think we can overcome this paradox with another paradox. I think if we want unity in Europe, we have to be divisional to a certain degree. By uniting between Poland and Germany and France and Italy, to use 4 examples. I would take Netherlands into that group as well, and create pressure in Brussels. I think only through the national governments and only through divisionally united national governments, we can create sufficient pressure in order to change the way Brussels works. I'm absolutely convinced of that. And I think we have to do it for the better of Europe. I want to save Europe, and that's why we have to do that. And to answer your question, I think Poland is an excellent partner for this, for Germany. I think it's a bit more difficult after the election results that you have mentioned, but it still is the best chance that we have to work with partners like Poland in order to do this thing in Brussels.
How do you believe anyone can put on more pressure in Brussels right now? I see your point. Yeah. I think many see your point, and at the same time, we feel...
The Council.
How do we do it?
I think the Council is the only way. And individual, personal relationships. At the end of the day, the world functions through personal relationships, through trust, and through trust in judgment of others. And this can be established on the Council level if we establish trust between individual Council members, and if we forcefully develop relationships with then the Commission in the way that I mentioned. But I don't want to dominate the conversation with this theme. I'm sorry, I'm afraid.
No, the problem is that we are so much aligned that it will not be a very exciting panel. I'm sorry for this. We try to dispute something, but
no, you can create a roadmap.
No, but seriously,
together. You don't have
seriously, from our perspective, means I fully subscribe to this idea, and I will go even more simplistic. But please don't quote me on the social media. I think today we have a chance of having Chancellor of Germany, Prime Minister of Poland, Prime Minister of Italy, and President of France pushing the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and then going with the solutions directly to the Parliament, where the EPP with the Meloni part can still vote the solutions, and then the Commission will only deploy. By the way, it was the initial idea of Europe. The Commission wasn't supposed to run Europe. It became like this in the last 20, 30 years. But this comes back to the origins. So, as you said, this personal alignment of stars. And I hope that despite of the last elections, Poland will stay a star of Europe. We have this personal possibility with the small Englishman under the table, because the UK is also very, very present in those discussions. And
Boy, would he be happy to hear that,
and
right?
I like it. And I like
small Englishman under the table.
But this is creating an option which keeps my romantic soul a bit optimistic about the fact that we, within this very short period, because it's dramatically short, we will be able to demonstrate to 500 million Europeans that there is a future of our industries, of our businesses, and then there is all the next steps, because we need the businesses first to pay taxes, and with those taxes we only can think about security and all the other challenges with education, health, etc. So business first, and we have, in what I see in my experience with Brussels is exceptional opening to our positions. So what we see as Business Europe, we would never be heard so much, we would never be asked by the Council and by the Commission to give with our concrete solutions as we are today, since 6-12 months. So we have to use this window of opportunity. I don't discuss if the new von der Leyen is reforming what the old von der Leyen did in the past. I don't care. I'm pragmatic. As long as we can progress, we go ahead with the president we have.
So how much pressure do you think our Chancellor can put on Ursula von der Leyen?
I think she'll listen.
I think so too.
Yeah. And I think that if she feels that we're serious, that Merz is serious, she will know that ultimately, to achieve her goal, which is to keep Europe alive and to create a legacy for herself, she will do what the strong European leaders, not only Merz, recommend. And I think that in a way I felt it over the last 2 days here, that there is a change in spirit that is taking place, both in the sense of optimism that is in the room. Of course, a lot of it is also hope. But as you mentioned, also in the sense of that European leaders no longer own the truth, but start to listen to business. They have understood that business is necessary. So there's a change of spirit in many aspects, in many respects, and maybe we have to, in some obscure way, be thankful for President Trump to have happened, for this spirit to change of spirit to happen. But regardless what it comes from, it is there. We can grasp it. It's out there. We have felt it over the last 2 days, and we feel it throughout the country and throughout Europe. And let's seize that opportunity. And I guess what would be an interesting discussion to be had, which we can now have, is what can business do? What can business associations do in order to promote that spirit, but also to promote the leaders of our nations to be more forceful in Brussels?
I would actually like to go a step back.
I'm
I know
taking over moderation here. I know. I'm sorry. It's not my role.
But since I've also noticed for these past 1.5 days that he likes to dive deep in the conversations, which is lovely and helpful. But when we talk about increasing the business ties to change something on the political level, in hope that the Green Deal will turn into a growth deal eventually, let's take a step back. How do we need to rethink sovereignty in these times within the growth context? Sovereignty also with regards to the geopolitical challenges that we're all facing.
As I said at the very beginning, for me, the only way to defend our sovereignty at Europe is Europe. Means no country, even the German economy, is not big enough on its own, with the current pressures coming from the US, from China, also the threats from Russia. So we have to work it together. You ask the question what the associations could do. It's build stronger structures, spend more money on expertise, because today, when we go to Brussels, it's too late now. It's outdated to speak about competitiveness and to speak about reindustrialization and to speak about growth. Now the guys are coming in front. They put to us a white paper and they say, okay, but concretely, what do you want to change? So it's on us today at the national level, but also on the corporations we have between countries, at the Business Europe level as well, to come with the very concrete solutions point by point. And for me, a good example was a report. I really incentivize everybody, a publicity page, a report from Business Europe in January this year. It's 62 pages of the very concrete points, like CBAM should not be applied to the goods at 150 euro, because this is an expensive, not even it's a pen, so you cannot account the CO2 for 150 euro. It should be minimum 1,500 euros. Very, very specific solutions. So we have to work the BDIs, the Leviathans, the MEDEVs, the Confindustrias on really points we want to have those politicians pushing, because the only other institutions having this detailed knowledge is Commission, and we all agree that Commission cannot reform itself. So we have to do their job somehow, bring to the politicians a kind of ready white papers, and those white papers push them within the next omnibuses to be deployed immediately. Because again, time puts on us a big pressure. We have very little time.
You know, and this. Go ahead, and then I will ask my question.
Okay. Sorry.
No.
So sovereignty. I think three things. First of all, we have to make very clear, in addition to what you have said, let's be concrete. Absolutely clear. Second, make clear to the European Commission that sovereignty and autonomy are two different things, and that they should not strive for autonomy. This will not be possible in Europe. We have to have international relations. In order to have autonomy, thirdly, you have to have strength. And let's focus on the things that take away strength from us. And a lot of the remaining 1,200 delegated acts that are still in the pipeline from the Green Deal are going to take away strength from us. Let's look at them first, because they're not enacted yet. These are easier to kill than the ones that are here already. So autonomy versus sovereignty. Secondly, strength. Thirdly, strategy. Let's focus on the things where we can have unique strengths that we need as bargaining power outside of Europe. We will need bargaining power in the future. Let's also focus on these things. If we do just the four things, concrete, sovereignty versus autonomy, strength, and have a strategy. In that sense, I'm of course always about technology strategy. I think we have enough concrete things to work on that will keep us busy for a while, and that will definitely make us stronger.
So if we take a strategic look at things, and the EU and the businesses within the EU, and if we take a strategic approach to the challenges, also the geopolitical challenges, I wonder how many difficult decisions lie ahead with regards to sovereignty. Who needs which business in which country? Mm-hmm. And how many parallel businesses do we actually need in each European country if we just look at it from the approach sovereignty?
So you spoke, Peter spoke about the pressure from Donald. I will speak about the pressure from Vladimir. Yes. The pressure from Vladimir gives us, as we speak today, we are just talking about the doubling or tripling our defense spendings. it's somehow a great opportunity for industries, because it's defense. I know it's not necessarily the most sexy subject, but it's a lot of innovation, it's a lot of research, which then it's massively deployed in the dual use and then into the civilian technologies. And this money, we are somehow lucky, because if we go into the 5%, we'll see the NATO summit in Den Haag, if we go to the 5%, even the unoptimized European defense industries will never be able to eat this money as they are today. So we have a big advantage that the stake of money will increase very much. So we'll have excedents we can use to, don't quote me, bribe the United States, because we will still have a lot of those 5% can be used to buy the stuff we cannot produce by our own, and it will give us time to develop our own industries. And obviously the money is so big, going to the 5%, that there will be enough of space to negotiate this necessary consolidation of the businesses. Obviously, we cannot build a tank per country. We cannot build a rifle per country, which is used in the ridiculous quantities only for the National Day parade. It doesn't make sense. So, but again, we will have a lot of state budgets now to explain to the giants of the to the leaders. Let's go this way: leaders of the European industries, that there is a space, but we will need the consolidation. And if the states are capable to consolidate the demand and the purchasing projects, then the private companies will merge behind. So the consolidation, you don't need to order the consolidation. Just give the security of the orders coming from the states. The companies will manage. The private companies will manage behind. By the way, this is, and I will finish with this one, the only small incompatibility we have between Poland and Germany. That in Poland, unfortunately, we have a very strong state-owned sector. And it's kind of, especially in defense, it's quasi-monopoly. So it's very difficult to build partnerships together. But again, we are optimistic. We are also romantic. So I'm staying optimistic that we will be able to collaborate. But the only way is to continue the consolidation.
You know, while both of you are speaking, I'm thinking, where is that the person that has the leadership, the necessary leadership skills to pull this all together on a European level?
Next question.
Yeah.
This is hard. This is hard because the design of the European Union is really not made for that one single leadership person. It is meant to be divided in leadership, and therefore it will, by nature, it doesn't produce this type of leader. But I think in an indirect way, I would have never thought I would say this one day. In an indirect way, Mario Draghi is that leader with his report. So the leadership, the report becomes the leadership. And if you look at the two underlying themes of that report, these are unification and prioritization, or prioritization. No, oh, well, you know what I mean.
But we need a person. We don't just need the paper, right? I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I think that I truly think that if I look at the last weeks of Chancellor Merz's Außenpolitik, foreign policy, and the way he has embraced that role, in a way he could become that. And if it is true, it's going to be interesting to find this out. Over the last years, where there was a vacuum of German leadership within the EU, the call for German leadership from around Europe was very strong. It will be interesting to see if once German leadership is there again in Europe, whether the people who called for it still want it. But let's just take it for as a given, yes, they will. Then Germany has, of course, a natural role in Europe to be in a leadership role. We have to be careful with that, because given our history and given our role as the largest economy in Europe, it will always be also a divisive leadership that we have. But I think that we have a real opportunity, and it's probably our best guess to try this.
Mm.
I would just add, because it's difficult to claim Germany by a German, but as a Pole here, I would say no choice. We have no time. And in fact, looking for a new partner who will be coming from Luxembourg or Monaco, it's impossible. We have 3-4 years. So we have a German Chancellor, again, we have Italian Prime Minister, Polish Prime Minister, French President, and we have Ursula von der Leyen in Brussels. And there will be no time to change, because it's this term that we have to use it. The only point of difference, because we have to have one official difference, I prefer Letta to Draghi, but other than that, we are completely aligned. And no time, but the both are saying exactly, well, almost exactly the same. And the point is, we have this configuration, and I think this configuration we have together with those chancellors, prime ministers, presidents, it's still better than the one we have had 2 or 3 years ago, and especially with the composition of the European Parliament. So there is a chance. If we push it, there is a chance.
But while we're speaking about collaboration and further collaboration in Europe and among European partners, at the same time, there have been calls in your country to end naive globalization. I think it was Donald Tusk, to strengthen the national economic resilience also, and to safeguard the national economic interests. So how does this all fit together? How can the countries balance this? And what does this mean for the future?
Well, I'm afraid that the norms of the political language are not what they used to be in the past. So in the political campaignings, politicians are somehow going a bit far, employing the language of the enemy's populists. So again, business is rational. And I think that again, whenever I speak with the Polish companies, whenever state-owned or private companies, whenever I speak with the Germans, Italians, French, whatever, people from Portugal or Norway, they are all somehow in the same mood. We have no options. We have to collaborate. We have to work together. This end of globalization, I think it's when Tusk spoke about end of globalization, then he was corrected by his own candidate to the presidency, saying, "Oh, but he thought about out of Europe globalization." Okay. So he was corrected by his own team a few hours later, because effectively the statement was not very helpful. So when he said that he will keep the public tenders in Poland for Polish companies, no, he will keep the tenders for European companies. And this is the line, and this is the only option. And I think that we have absolutely pro-European Prime Minister, and whatever difficult comes with this presidential election, the Prime Minister is ruling the country, so the Prime Minister will keep the country in this loop of the people understanding that we have 3-4 years.
We have only 2.5 minutes left, basically. I think it would be nice to end this talk with a question: what can we learn from each other? What can Germany learn from Poland, and what can Poland learn from Germany?
I think, of course, we can learn from Poland the sense of urgency concerning the refortification of our national defense. They are a few hundred miles closer to the eastern, to the Russian border than we are, and it's amazing how exponential this sense of urgency grows with closeness. It's a bit like gravity. Secondly, I think when I'm in Poland, I'm always, as I said with my opening statement, I'm just always infected by this spirit of this can-do spirit, as they say. This is very, very, very motivating to experience that. And as I also said, I feel that the spirit in Germany is changing, and if Poland can infect us a little more with this can-do attitude, I think that would be very helpful.
I'd like to change my question. Actually, to pick up on something he just said. A few days ago, I can't recall where I read it, but it was a thesis that maybe the countries in the eastern part of Europe, as for example Poland, are more flexible now and will adapt more quickly due to the experience they had immediately after the Iron Curtain came down and the change in the economic systems. Would you agree on that?
Well, I think that we always had the state never helped us. So we always have been, like, Polish companies have been always somehow acting against the willingness of the communist state and the foreign states in the past. So we're experts on the kind of resistance to the state. So we did the same with the European directives. But seriously, and second element of luck we had, somehow I'm surprised to say so, we have had 8 years of the conservative regime, and this regime was delaying all the regulations, not consciously, just because they didn't like Brussels. So by doing this kind of sabotage, they helped us, because a lot of those ESGs and CSRDs didn't came in force. Now they are coming, so suddenly we discover how it is to be European. It's not very pleasant, but seriously, we're pro-Europe here. But it helped us. It helped us a lot, and it gave us some margin of adaptation. But today, there will be no miracles in Warsaw. There will be no miracles in Brussels. There will be no miracles in Paris. Either we solve out this situation together, or again we are doomed in the global deglobalization, which was quoted by Prime Minister Tusk.
So no miracles, but lots of hard work. Yes, that's right. Thank you very much, Mr. Witucki, Mr. Leibinger. Thank you.